give you Boardwalk for all the orange and purple properties and $500. What say you, John Oderman?
No deal.
No deal?
No deal.
Well, since if you roll any number, you will lose the next turn, that was a bad move. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Pop Culture Problems. I'm Josh Nichols. We have Mr. John Oderman, and we're just discussing our frantic game on Monopoly, of which John is losing because he's of inferior superiority and intelligence to me. And he's not going to take my deal. He's going to say no deal.
I'm not going to take your deal because it's a terrible deal.
It is a terrible deal, but what other choice do you have? Losing?
A roll in the dice.
A roll in the dice.
Just like life.
Today we're talking about board games. Classic board games, new board games, otherwise board games. I think new and old basically covers
Here's the thing about board games. You're never bored playing a board game.
Thanks for listening to Pop Culture Problems. We're going to end it there because we got the dad jokes coming out. How long have you been a father?
6 months.
6 months. And the dad jokes are flying.
They are. I got to get the dad jokes out now before I play a game like Monopoly with my kids and they hate me.
Yeah,
you know?
You got to be careful of that. It's not so much about playing it with your kids. It's about playing it with anyone else within their scope of influence.
Well,
so if they have a friend or a significant other, can't play it with them because then the dad jokes are like, Dad.
Yeah, well, and I think one of the most valuable things that you can teach your kids with board games is how to lose.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, that is a valuable skill that I think kids learn. And they learn it with games like Candyland and stuff like that. Because I'm seeing this with my nephews that are a little bit older than my daughter, where you sit down and you play a game like Candyland with them, and they don't like to lose. Kids don't like to lose.
Kids do not like to lose. And okay, so...
Which is a good thing. Like, being competitive and not wanting to lose is a good thing, but somebody, you need to learn how to, like, lose graciously.
There are primarily two types of people. And I know which type we both are. I just know it. Because I know us. But really, there's two types of people. And then, there's an occasional exception. The weirdo, the whatever derogatory statement about human, insert here. But basically, you are either out to win the game and you're competitive, or you're just hanging out and talking, and the board game just happens to be on the table at the time that you're doing something else and you're not really invested in it. And I'm way competitive. Are you in that same boat?
You see, I would. You were very nice in how you classify those two groups of people. I would classify them as the people that cry when they play Monopoly and the people that win when they play Monopoly.
Wow. See, Sarah calls it out for blood. The people who are out for blood or the people who want to have fun. And here's where I get upset. And I think we've talked about this before, but like...
I don't know about you, but I have fun when I spill blood.
There is nothing like a good blood spill. Yes. I mean, you know what?
I'm sorry, I cut you off there at all.
I mean, there's a certain joy when heads roll. Like, I mean, just it's. I don't know. It's festive. But no, I mean, one of the things I struggle with games is I like to win. I think everybody. I don't think people like to lose. That's what I don't think. I don't think people take any sort of joy in losing at something. People don't necessarily want to win all the time, I don't think, or have to win. But it's not a great feeling when you lose, but it's also something that you can take in stride. But my biggest thing with games is you have to follow the rules. And with a game like Monopoly, I mean, that's why we open the show.
With house rules and things like that.
There's house rules. If you establish rules before the game starts, great. And then within the confines of those rules, you play it. In most games, there's literally an instruction booklet. And inside that instruction booklet that people lose the first time they play the game, it has a section called How to Win the Game. Yes. Meaning that's the point. The point is to win. The point is to win, and then they outline how you're supposed to win, and then you do that. And every time I play a game with somebody, they get upset because, well, you're being mean. You're not, giving me a mortgage or giving me free money in Monopoly, or you're not letting me redo that turn. Like, why would I? That's not in the rules.
Yeah.
So, I mean, are you a rule follower?
I'm a rule follower to the extent of where the rules don't let me bend them.
Well, you you use rules to your advantage.
Yes, that's part of the game.
Of the strategy.
Yes.
Well, and that's why I like to know the rules beforehand. For instance, let's say Monopoly. Let's say house rules. Okay, so like one of the things when I was playing as a kid, if you would land on free parking, what we did is we had like 2 $500 bills and 2 of the cards in the middle, like Community Chest and Chance. And if you landed on free parking, you'd get that. It was free money. It was $1,000, which is significant when you start out with, $1,500 or something like that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you know that going forward, your goal is to try to hit that, maximize your chance to hit that. Mm-hmm. So, and that's one rule that I think knowing beforehand is good. Whether or not to stay in jail, John. If there is a street ahead of you and a street around the corner full of houses that are going to end your game, and you get sent to jail, is it advantageous for you to pay out?
No, absolutely
Or
not. Make a strategic move to sit there for 3 turns. Especially if you've got some other properties on the table that you can maybe gain some revenue.
Absolutely.
So that you can pay off the tax or the rent.
That is cheating. I've been told on no less than 10 occasions that that's cheating.
Well,
you paid out of jail every other time.
But you still have to roll, and you can still get you still roll doubles and have to move.
But it's still cheating because that's not fair. That's not fair because you're not going to hit any of my properties. And when I was in jail, I paid out. I'm like, well, that's your loss. So that is a rule that's established that if there's no rule saying you have to pay out. And then when you don't do it, I just think it's weird. So I think that's the first part of the discussion. Just seeing what kind of people.
I think people who complain about that are maybe they're intimidated by your obvious superiority in terms of skill, and possibly even superiority in terms of intellect. Maybe they just don't know that they can, whether or not they can stand up to your intellect in terms of winning the game.
I'm gonna use this analogy. You know how we talk about kids being in school being smart or knowing topics or being good test takers, right?
Yeah, sure.
And you can be really good at taking a test. I am really good at looking the rules laid before me, strategizing on how to have an outcome that's successful. That's what I'm good at.
Within those rules.
Yeah, within those rules.
Yeah.
And so, and it's not that I don't mind a challenge. I just don't like changing the rules. I'll play with Sarah and her parents, and they will help her. They will trade her cards that are good, or go back and forth, or do things to my detriment. When I do something to try to win, I'm out for blood. When they gang up against me, it's them trying to combat a bully or something. So the thing is when I am playing, I am trying to do the best I can to win.
Yeah.
But we have started games with them where I say, you pick the spot I started. Settlers of Catan.
Yeah.
They're like, well, this is the hardest spot. I'm like, well, give that to me. We play a thing called Phase 10.
And
it's kind of like, got the cards. And they have twist cards in this version. And the twist cards are harder. So I literally play the game picking a twist card every time. I take the hardest card, and they take the regular cards around the board. Yeah. I don't move any sort of advantage. I just take the hard card. Uh-huh. And if I win, I feel like you can't be mad at me.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm doing my due
diligence. But the thing is, like most games, especially like a game like Monopoly, and I love talking about Monopoly because that was one that led to a lot of tears being shed in my household growing up. But a lot of flipped boards and things like that. But Monopoly has a good, solid set of rules, but there's enough malleability within those rules to you've got you have to go around the board in a clockwise fashion by rolling dice. You roll doubles, and then you can buy the property and things like that, and hotels, and once you get a monopoly of properties or whatever. But other than that, you can do basically anything that you could do in the regular business world.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so we've gotten into some very convoluted trades and purchases in my family, to the point where we've had to have family meetings about whether or not this is an actual move you can make. I've gotten calls from my family members.
Wow.
To ask, hey, we're playing Monopoly. Would you say that this is a legitimate move? Is this a legitimate deal that we're making?
Sort of what do you call those things? where treaties are signed. Like when you come to these like I don't know the word for those like meetings, but these you're having like this sort of like treaty meeting to try to determine the peace and war between your family and how you play. I love that.
Well, I mean, it brings somebody else into the game that wasn't having the enjoyment of playing it. That's hundreds of miles away, maybe thousands of miles away.
But one of the things with Monopoly is I really like to... I go out to buy one of every property. Because then nobody can have a Monopoly.
Yeah, absolutely.
I go and try to do that because that's a strategy. And you really have to be lucky to hit one of every color property and have the money to buy it.
Yeah.
But when I've done that, people are like, well, that's not fair. Well you do the same thing then.
This just is an example of how extreme we go. But we've made deals where, like, I'll sell you Boardwalk, but I get 20% of the rent proceeds for the entirety of the game, type of thing.
Wow, that's good.
Yeah, I mean,
and see, I've never done that stuff. I don't know that I know the real rules of Monopoly because of that house rule thing that you're able to do. And I think that's one of the greatest part of the games is you kind of have that flexibility. Similar Monopoly, the farming game.
Oh,
now I don't know.
That's an Oderman family favorite.
I don't know. Is that a regional thing, or do you think that's?
I think you can get it everywhere. I've seen it down in like Nebraska. I've seen it in other parts of the country, but that is a game that like takes Monopoly to the next level. Like we've made deals in our family there where like, hey, you want to loan me some money on this for these cherries, and I'll give you a certain percentage of the gross for the next 3 or 4 harvest cycles. Wow. and then we take it to the next level there, where it's like, I'll take the next 4. I'll take half of your next 4 rolls of a 6 or better.
Okay.
So it's like,
well, and see, that's a risk management thing.
It is,
and that's what you would make in real life. I mean, you have a scratch my back, scratch yours.
Well, I mean, think about it. Like in agriculture, I mean, you think about those guys are leveraged to the tilt, and they've got to make these deals to try to make things go. And the only thing that the farming game doesn't have that would be a cool like real world element is like, well, you could add some different like produce and livestock and stuff, it'd be cool to add like a subsidy element where like you go for government subsidies or something like that. You advocate for them.
I like there should be a little small board, which is when you go to town to buy, and it could be like a kind of a marketplace where you could sell your produce and stuff like that.
And I'm glad that we're putting these on air, so if this ever happens, they are
these
our ideas.
Our ideas, and we'll only take 10-20% of the profits.
Absolutely,
we're reasonable.
The makers of the farming game, if you want to make that expansion, the town game expansion of farming game, we'll take 10%.
And we'll just say it's an expansion for any game.
An unofficial expansion. We can make it an unofficial expansion. Yeah.
It would just have uncanny similarities to the farming game. When that game, and for people who don't know what it is, I mean, you're basically simulating farming. And it's kind of a Monopoly type game. It's the same kind of board. Similar things, and there's harvest times, etc.
Yeah, anyway, so it's basically the entire year is around the outside of the board from January to December.
But you have these things called cattle ridges, where you can buy cattle. And one of the things I've noticed with games, like between myself and my girlfriend, as example, is I kind of play like my normal size. I'm not a huge risk taker. But in games, I can be more risky because it's not real money.
Yeah.
It's like if you're playing poker, if you're playing for real money or you're just playing for fun, you play differently. Sarah plays real life. She is a penny pincher. She will not have debt. She hates debt.
See, and that's an element to the farming game that you don't have in a lot of other games. Is you can go into debt. You can borrow money to buy the option to buys.
And she does not like to be in debt. She cannot handle being in debt in real life, and she has been a debt collector, so she doesn't like collecting for it. She will not go into debt in this fake game. And so I will go into debt at the beginning of the game. I'll just go all in. Like, give me all the money I can borrow, whatever. I'll beg, borrow, and steal, and I typically will buy every cattle ridge.
Absolutely, yeah.
And then I win the game, because I have a monopoly of cattle. And she gets so upset. Because I'll be sitting there with all these bank notes of what I owe. And she's just like, you're never going to pay that back. why would you do that to yourself? Why would you have the stress?
Why would you hamstring yourself? Yeah.
And then at the end of the game, she's like, well, at least I didn't go into that. You know,
Yeah.
like, it's just a different play style. But it's funny how some people take it seriously and put themselves on the board, where I'm like, oh, this is an opportunity. I can role play being more risky.
I had no idea that you had played the farming game. That's fantastic.
Yeah, I played the farming
I love that game.
I don't here's the thing with me, as I play it so infrequently, I almost need to relearn the rules the first time I play it again. You know, it's kind of a little bit of a learning curve.
See, like, because my twin brother and I used to play that all the time growing up, and we got really competitive with it to the point where we would like start playing with, like, when you roll on Farmer's Fate, you have to draw 2 Farmer's Fate cards.
Wow.
And there are some Farmer's Fate cards though that you want that are just like home runs if you get them.
Oh, yeah.
Like your Cherry Harvest is like 5 times what it was or something like that, and so, like, it's just that's a great game. I love Monopoly, but I might like the farming game more.
I kind of like the farming game. The reason I don't like Monopoly is I don't get to play it a lot because of, like, the way people
It's got a
get so upset
stigma.
by
It's got a
it.
stigma.
Like, it's got this kind of, like, weird...
People are prejudiced against Monopoly.
I also get a little bit spoiled. I played Monopoly on, like, you know, gaming consoles and computers, and it's so nice.
Yeah.
Because it just does everything
Yes,
for you.
yeah.
It's like playing chess in real life. I suck at
Oh,
chess.
see, I
in
love
real
chess.
life.
I love chess.
Yeah, I love chess.
Yeah.
But in real life, it doesn't tell me when I'm in check, and it doesn't tell me if I moved in the wrong spot by accident. Like, and I'm okay. I'm not an idiot. I can make sense of it, but it's very jarring when you go from digital to the real thing because you have to pay attention.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You have to
Big
actually,
time.
like, know what's happening. Versus online, you can kind of go back and forth, and you can play with other people, but it's still easier. It's like you can kind of see things, you can try things out. There's no sort of like it's almost like those Words with Friends games where they kind of go back and forth.
Yep.
With those, you can spend a day thinking about your move, you know, and it's kind of nice. Versus when you're sitting across from somebody, it's go go go. You know, you don't have that. It's different, a little different. Another thing about game personalities. So I love negative cards.
Oh yeah,
I love them. Uno was like one of my first like games that I just loved because of the element of like draw 4, draw 2, draw 1, like, and you could just stack them. And so, like, I really like this game called Exploding Kittens because, like, all the cards are...
Oh yeah, yep.
Sarah's dad removes all the negative cards from a game.
But
so when we get the game, he will go through and remove all the negative cards, and if there's a rule that's negative, he removes it, and then we play the game.
But how do you play that game without...
It's really tough. I still win, but it's really... It takes a lot longer. So, Settlers of Catan, okay? I'm going to be ignorant here. I probably will never know what the real rules of that game are because I only have ever played it with their family.
Yeah.
And I think there's some like character like a thief or like a token that you move around that you can like steal something if you roll like a 7 or something like that.
All right.
Never played with that. I saw it in the rule book once, but we never played with that because that's a bad thing.
Redacted.
Yeah, you cannot take something from somebody or move something. And we were just playing this version. There's a US version where you're moving from one side of the map to the other.
Yeah.
And I cut someone off with my railroad, and it was like the end of the world because I had done the meanest thing that could ever have happened. And like, I thought I was gonna get dumped because this was like taken to the real world.
You know what game I would love to see you play with them is Sorry.
Oh, sorry. You get me, I'll get you back. Sorry. That was a commercial.
Yeah, but that is like the board game version of like just sticking a knife in your loved one's side and turning it.
Oh yeah, well, and really, those games started early. Kind of with, that's the point of a game. You need to have an obstacle, or else it's everybody singing "Kumbaya," holding hands.
Yeah.
Like that's not what we want there.
Yeah, these board games
Shoots
don't
and
come with a
ladders.
box of trophies that are participation trophies.
Hand out.
Yeah,
Shoots and ladders.
Yeah.
There was an element of luck that you could be unlucky.
Yeah.
And if you don't have that unlucky element in the game, it's not.
Well,
I don't know. It's not fun for me.
Like the worst part of Candyland is you could be almost done with the map, and all of a sudden you get like Lumpy or whatever his name is, the gumdrop guy, and you have to go all the way back. That happened a couple weeks ago with my nephews, and it was almost a board flip moment.
That you
for them.
Oh,
for them.
Okay. Of course you would.
Yeah, I would never. I'm not.
Now, and you can tell me, John, nobody listens to the show. Have you ever cheated at a game?
Oh, sure. All of us have. If you haven't cheated at a game, you don't know how to win.
I have cheated at a game like when I was young.
Okay.
Like I remember kind of cheating when I was young.
I
don't have to cheat now.
I thought you were going to say I've
now.
cheated on a game in the last week.
Yeah. I've cheated.
No, I mean I don't really. I don't really cheat a lot now. I'm not going to say that I because there's a lot of people that would say that like the way that I play Monopoly is cheating.
Well, but see, I disagree. So if you can give me any example that is outside of what the rules are, I can make a judgment call on it for you. But if it's in the rules and you're within the confines of those rules, then guess what? Play the game that game, and then the next time change that rule. Say, you know what, John, you did something that was a little sneaky last time, a little underhanded. We're going to not allow that in the future. Okay, I won the last game. I can't do that trick anymore. That's fine. And you know the rule before you go into the next game, so all's fair. Why is it?
That's like that would take like an act of Oderman Congress, though.
I just feel like you and I need to play a board game. Because as competitive as we both are, and kind of how great we are at bending and manipulating the rules and such, would one of us make it out alive only? Or would we... The game never ends.
It might be a thing where it never ends. Yeah,
just continually bashes the other person down.
Josh, you've got me here, but remember the deal that you made on the second or third turn, which totally negates what I have to pay you for here.
Well, John, that is true. But remember the rule you made 8 years ago during that
when
game, and you said ill-equippedly, in perpetuity, that counts for this game. You know, like... And semantics dictate that you have to pay me. And if you disagree, I'll play the recording. It's a single-party consent state, so I can record you.
Yeah.
It gets, like, really hairy. I love how we make up scenarios that are fictional, and we take them really far. Like, I'm surprised. We could fill 20 minutes of that scenario.
We absolutely could.
The
You
audience
just keep
is
going.
just like, what is happening?
Is this real?
Does
this
this
real life?
really occur? Yeah, I was listening.
This is really detailed.
I came in halfway through the episode, and they were talking about how 8 years ago, in perpetuity, he made a rule. I'm like, what? So, did you have games as a kid that were like your favorites? Or was it always Monopoly?
No, Monopoly was a big one in my family. Farming game. We played a lot of chess growing up. That was kind of like the game that my dad would play with people, and it was like such a when I finally beat my dad at chess, that was like one of the greatest like achievements of my like gaming life because he's a mathematically minded guy. So I mean he's really good at thinking ahead and things like that, and being able to like beat him without him helping me was like a big milestone for me. But like chess was big. We played a lot of like card games and stuff when I was growing up. Skippo. We played Phase 10 at my grandparents' house. Yeah. Pinocchle's big in my parent in our house. And
no, that's actually something we didn't hit on. We had kind of started talking about it, but letting kids lose, or like teaching them. Like I think I could be, if I had a kid, I would be a little bit more not soft on them, but I might tone it down as far as how much I go in advance, but I'm not going to let them win. If they make a good move, kudos to them, and maybe I don't go out to ensure that they lose. Mm-hmm. But I think when you let a kid win, I don't think that's good. I think it develops that sort of,
I think a game like chess is a great opportunity for a kid to learn. Hey, had you done this differently there, this would have been a better move. You could have you can kind of walk them back through the last couple of moves of the game and just say, hey, this is what you could have done or should have done in that situation. And that way you're kind of teaching them the strategy, but not letting them win. I mean, like that's the thing about playing with like a kid. You can't like rub it in their face that they lost.
Exactly.
Or they're not going to want to play anymore.
You should be an adult all times.
Yeah.
But, with other adults, you can, let it slip. But with a kid,
be humble in victory and gracious in defeat.
I usually try to do practice rounds. So, I brought Exploding Kittens over at Thanksgiving for my family, and we played it, and I showed them just a couple test rounds. And like I walked around and kind of like looked at their hands and told them what they should play, so they get a good sense of what it's like. And then there's teaching moments where I'll go back and say, okay, I'll even take a picture of my hand and be like, this is what I had, and I kind of bluffed you, and you didn't do this, and here's how you could have figured out whether or not I was doing something wrong without making screwing yourself over. So I think those are good learning experiences. I think it makes us better people. It makes us more strategic in chess. Yeah. It makes us more alert in certain other games. How many times there's some of those games where like you have to do something or else you lose it. Like if it goes to the next person and you forgot to collect something, your money, or you forgot to do something, you've lost it. Yeah. And like a lot of people are forgiving. Like 8 turns ago you forgot to collect this? Oh, here you go. No,
it's like Uno, like Uno when you don't say Uno.
Oh, yeah, Uno.
Like, that's a perfect example.
Well, and it teaches you to be more alert. Like, you have to be, like, on your toes, because if you don't, you miss out. Yeah.
You can't win the game.
That is true. It's in the
rules.
I remember there were games when I was a kid that I kind of didn't like. I didn't get into some of those, like, Mousetrap. Yeah. Don't Break the Ice, some of those types of things. I just didn't... Those like they weren't strategy based. They were more like a gimmick, like almost like a Jenga or pickup sticks or something like that. It's more of a kind of a not athleticism of the fingers, but you know what I'm talking about. It's a little more dexterity than it is about the mind. And I didn't get into those as much. Mainly it was like the Monopolies and Rummy, card games, things like that.
Well, and this is something that I think maybe like we could do this one episode. We could maybe like learn how to play this game during an episode. But have you ever played anything like D&D?
I have not. I have not played.
See, and I've never played D&D either, but I've always had like a very like strong interest in it.
Live episode.
It would be great. Learn D&D. I mean, I think that could be a good one.
That could be a good episode.
Yeah,
we'll see.
It would make my wife angry though, because she says that she does not want me to learn.
Oh, D&D. There's a stigma.
No, not that there's a stigma, but I have an addictive personality, and I played World of Warcraft for years, and I have a lot of hours into questing on WoW, and I think she thinks that I would develop
the wagon.
I would fall off the wagon if I played D&D. Yeah.
Which could be a scenario in the dungeon realm.
Yes.
Your wagon bucked you off. That's the voice you try to use for that. It's always associated with this kind of stigma of being a nerd, but I think it's good games when you can be creative. Now, one game, it's kind of an interesting story. I bring it up because I enjoyed the game because I really like technology. And my mom and I had gone to a garage sale. Uh-huh. And there was, for $15, which at the time I think it retailed for like $50.
Okay.
Electronic Battleship.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. Battleship, great game.
Battleship's a great game, but Electronic Battleship takes it to a new level. I mean, the thing talks to you. Oh, you sunk your battleship. No, you poop. Like, it would actually explode and stuff. Yeah. It was the coolest thing. And I saw this there, and it was like $15. And I was like, this is like $50 in the stores. I would love this. And I asked my mom, I'm like, Mom, could I get this game? She's like, no, it's $15. And, again, it didn't have the money at the time.
Your mom's from Brooklyn all of a sudden?
I give my mom a new voice every time I talk about her. So I go ahead and I say, I had this. She said, no, it's too much money. I don't have that money, whatever. So I go back to the car. I'm sitting in the car waiting for her to finish up looking at this garage sale. Well, the lady who was running this garage sale comes over.
You told me the story.
Heard me say that I want the game, and my mom is saying, no, you can't have it. And she brought it to the car and gave it to me. And I was like ecstatic. Yeah. So she leaves. My mom comes to the car, gets in, turns around, and starts laying into me. She thought I had used the 5-finger discount. She thought that I stole this Battleship game because I wanted it. And she was like, you go give that back to that lady. And I'm like, Mom, the lady gave it to me. Oh, sure she did. Like, she just, like, was so upset that I had stolen. So she walked me back to this lady and said, you apologize. She's like, oh, do you got your game? And I was like, yeah, thanks. And my mom's like, okay, sorry about that.
Well, but here's the thing. You used an effective bargaining technique that you can utilize when playing Monopoly, making someone feel sorry for you.
Oh, that is true. That is true. I use that in poker a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, here's the thing about poker. I have a little bit of an acting background, and that drama skill really helps me in like Texas Hold'em.
Poker really is a game of skill.
Shit.
Like people say it's a game of chance. No, there's a skill element that is strong and powerful.
Every game has some chance to it, but skill is definitely alive and well in poker. But I act a whole lot. If you put yourself where you can act like you're really contemplating a decision, that serves you well. And when the person's like, why was he contemplating like that? He was just faking me out. And then the next time you contemplate the same way with something better.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It's like
it's huge.
They get weirded out. And I think that's the best part about games is making people cry, spilling blood, rolling heads, or making people upset, right? I mean, you would agree.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why you play board games.
You know, dancing on people's graves right here on Pop Culture Problems. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for listening, and we will see you next time.